Our guest will consider it a good sign if you're balling your fists in his presence. That's because he's the co-founder of Team Arm Wrestling Federation. It's a sports franchise based here in Toronto. We're joined by Jason Constantini, co-founder of the Team Arm Wrestling Federation. This is great. I never heard of this sport before.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
So you're based in Toronto, and you've got men and women, US and Canadian teams. Tell us, how does it work?
So TAWF is we pronounce it TAWF, so
Okay.
the TAWF, and then we pronounce it TAWF. And it's the first team-based, city-based arm wrestling format. So what we've done is we've introduced sort of what people are used to in professional sports as far as a point system, scoreboard, managers, there's substitution, roster changes and everything. And we've kind of developed a sport around the primal activity of arm wrestling that everybody knows.
For sure. Now, there is, I mean, we won't dwell on this, but there is a professional arm wrestling scene out there.
Yeah.
But it's one-on-one matches between guys, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So the actual arm wrestling is a huge sport online now.
Okay.
There's millions and millions of followers, but it's very fragmented. And the current format is a single like one-on-one match, what's called a super match. So that leads to a lot of one-off events, but there's no season structure where there's a week-to-week format that people and fans can follow and sort of make as a habitual, watchable content.
And how many people are on a team?
So there's 8 people. For the men and women, it's 2 different formats. So for the women, it's 3 versus 3, just because there's not as many women competing yet and everything. But they do like to compete, and we're trying to get them more involved. But for the men, it's 8 versus 8. So there's 4 weight classes, and there's 2 competitors in each weight class.
Okay.
And then for the season format, the teams have actually 12 competitors, so 3 in each weight class, and then kind of like rotation in baseball, like you're pitching, like your bullpen, you kind of rotate the guys based on the team that you have coming up, because arm wrestling is a lot about strategy, and there's a lot of counters that work. So one style might be great against one guy, but not very good against another. So that's where the strategy comes in play.
And where you're online now. Your matches are online. You're not on actual TV right now.
We have a broadcast deal with Anthem Sports through Fight Network and Game Plus. So our first event was broadcast on Fight Network in the U.S. and Canada.
Oh, nice.
And we have a deal with them for 2026 to broadcast all our content via Fight Network and Game Plus. And then we're also still online on our YouTube channel and on the Fight Network YouTube channel.
And what is do you have a revenue stream right now? Where is
no, well, the revenue stream will be generated through sponsorships, ticket sales, media rights, and then merch sales. Those are the 4 main pillars that we're going to establish revenue through. But right now, we are in the startup phase. So right now we're in the bridge capital phase, looking for investors for bridge capital, and then we have a seed round coming up next.
One thing I was really interested to read, when 2 competitors shake hands before a bout, they don't do a big macho cruncher because they don't want to give too much away about their hands and their strengths.
Yeah, it's a hand-based sport, right? So all the information between the opponents is coming through their hands. So in the pre-match, the same way you might have 2 fighters staring each other down to try to emotionally figure out what the other opponent is thinking. You get a lot of information through shaking someone's hand of where they're strong, where they want to go, where they might be strong, might be trying to go with the match, and you don't want to give that information away. So it's kind of it's a little interesting part of the community.
And how long would a bout last? An individual wrestle, if I can call it that.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the interesting things with arm wrestling is that we are more about a struggle of will than kind of like an impact moment. So if you think of fight sports, you're looking for like a knockout, or like everybody's into slap fighting now because it's kind of like shock content. Arm wrestling is more of a struggle of will or an act of dominance. So an act of dominance would be like a flash pin, which means a match might end in a split second because you get a great position off the start and you just completely overpower your opponent. But if a match stops, as we say it in arm wrestling, it can last anywhere from a few seconds to, I think the longest match in history is about 9 minutes. Because once guys get stuck in a certain position, it's really just a struggle of will. It's like who wants it more, who's going to give up first. And in a 2 or 3 minute match, the amount of force that's left in the middle of the table is very minimal. Like you could walk up to the table and kind of push it one direction or the other with your finger, but they're so at complete exhaustion between each other that they're still struggling to, like who's going to give up first. It's a real struggle of will, as we call it.
Have you picked up any sponsorships yet? I could see energy drinks, etc., being very interested.
We haven't locked down any sponsors yet, but again, we're really fresh in creation. But yeah, we're, because of the format and because of the weekly structure and also because of the way the game is structured, there's a lot of the ad time is structured right into the format, where with the current format of super matches, there's no telling how long the matches are going to go. There's no structure. So it's very hard for sponsors to figure out when and where they're going to get their impressions. But with our format, it's very easy to monetize. So yeah, as we grow and get exposure like this, hopefully we get more interest from sponsors. But yeah, it's a great market for things like energy drinks, or it's also a very family and sort of like blue collar sport. So things like Canadian Tire or Milwaukee, Tools or DeWalt or things like that. Those are the kind of things where they would get a lot of exposure of people in that kind of industry and stuff as well.
It's interesting you mentioned family because it's not violent in the way MMA is or something.
Exactly. It still gives you that intensity of combat. It's face to face. That's one of the things I think that grabs people is you can really see the emotion because it's such a face to face struggle. But again, you're not punching each other in the face. The only thing at risk is the shoulder to the fingertips. I mean, we do have injuries. It is a combat sport. In our first game, we had somebody tear a bicep. So it's a torn bicep or a broken humerus are the two most common injuries.
Broken bone.
You'll because of a bad position, which is part of the technique thing, and also conditioning. You can break your humerus quite easily. So, which again, if it was shock value that I wanted, then I would just get amateurs to pull pros. I'd have the pros break the amateur's arm and get a ton of shock content. But that's not what we're trying to create. We're trying to create something that, like you said, is much more approachable for families, for just all levels of viewership.
Really interesting stuff. Jason, thanks very much indeed.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Jason Constantini, co-founder of Team Arm Wrestling Federation.